What's up, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Fire and Ice NFL edition, brought to you by Sportstopia. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my friend Steezy A. Smith, and we got our friend Terrell joining us ever so shortly. Steezy, how's it going today?
Man, I'm feeling great. As always, I'm kind of just waking up, being over here on the West Coast. I'm not 3 hours out ahead like you guys are, so I'm always a little tired, but because it is football, I can't ever really be too tired talking about it, so I feel good.
And we got a game. Oh, wait, it's not Thursday. I got ahead of myself. We got a game tomorrow. One more sleep until we got some football. The Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs facing off on Thursday night. Probably going to be a blowout, but maybe the Broncos can keep it close. Do you think they stand a chance, Steezy?
Man, see, I looked at the last 5 times that these two teams have played, and some of them have been close, but Denver just hasn't won any of those games. And given the way that their defense has been playing or performing this year, I just don't see it being close.
Yeah. Terrell joining us right now. What's up, Terrell?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How are we doing today?
Pretty good. We're just getting hyped for this Broncos-Chiefs game. Steezy doesn't think the Broncos stand a chance. I don't think the Broncos stand a chance. Are you holding out any hope that this is Sean Payton's redemption game where they get it on track? No, he doesn't believe at all. So much so that he can't even say it. Well, guys, we got a full show for you today. We're going to be going over some of our favorite stacks of the week. We're going to play some Fantasy Feud to go over some of the fantasy numbers and the NFL lines going into week 6. And if we got time, we might throw some player props your way. I'm going to jump in first here and give my favorite stack of the week. We saw it happen last week. Finally, these two players click, but the prices haven't quite caught up on the DFS sites. Maybe they aren't buying into it. But I'm digging Mr. Joe Burrow with his favorite target, Jamar Chase, in week 6 up against the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks defense, unfortunately, has been porous to wide receivers. It's no longer that locked down secondary that they've had in the past, a couple of big games. So I think Jamar Chase can get it done. And all I needed to see from Joe Burrow was that he could throw the ball down the field, and he showed us that last week. I'm sitting there watching it, and I see those long passes to Jamar Chase. So I'm back in. And Burrow's sitting down at like a discounted price. He's not at the top tier QB like the Justin Herberts, the Patrick Mahomes that are going to be 8,000, 9,000. He's sitting down, I believe, at 6,300. So you can save a little bit and get a top tier talent QB. If he's back, if he can throw the ball down the field, I'm not too worried about that calf anymore. How are you feeling about this Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase stack? Are you buying what we saw last week and think it can repeat against the Seahawks?
Most definitely. I feel like last week we saw the most healthy version of Joe Burrow, like you alluded to, that we've seen all year long. But I'm not nearly as high on Joe Burrow. I'm high on Jamar Chase. I'm higher on him than I am with Joe Burrow. I just feel like with the way that these sites have kind of put in his salary, I think they're kind of taking into consideration the fact that the Seahawks, despite I know the numbers don't look very pretty statistically, but then you sprinkle a little bit of context. This secondary has yet to be fully healthy all year long. Jamal Adams is set to play. Tariq Woolen is going to play. Spoon is going to play. Trey Brown is going to play. And so guys are getting healthy at the right time. And at the same time, like I was going to say, that Seahawks pass rush has been ferocious. Before, because they were on bye this past week, but before that bye, they were number 1 in the NFL or tied for first in the NFL in sacks with 16 and also number 1 in the NFL in pressures with 98. And so given the uncertainty of Cincinnati's offensive line, as long as they can hold up, if they could protect Joe Burrow and he doesn't have to take too many hits, then I could see him, putting up the numbers that we're all accustomed to seeing, despite, the health of that Seahawks secondary. But by no means am I saying that he's going to have a bad game. It's not a bad stack at all. I'm just not nearly as high. But Jamar Chase, I think he's kind of back to being that alpha wide receiver one that we've been accustomed to seeing. So he's kind of matchup proof.
Terrell, how are you feeling about this Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow stack? I could be accused of chasing points after last week. That is definitely something that could be thrown my way as an accusation. But with Joe Burrow sitting down at only 6,300, I'm having trouble not putting him in the lineup. You can save on your quarterback and then get that top tier wide receiver.
Too much value.
Yeah, I think that the concern really more is just that the Seattle defense is actually pretty okay. And they got some stars, and they have the rookie when you talk about Devin Witherspoon coming over from Iowa, and he's trying to throw his name in the hat. Jalen Carter's kind of, run away with that defensive rookie of the year in the hat there, and he's got a touchdown to add to it. But really, it's just more of the health of Joe Burrow for me, and just making sure that, hey, I did see some good things last week that made him look like that he was very healthy, but it still seems like, he's not all the way there. And so kind of hesitant to kind of pull the trigger on Joe Burrow because he could have that game. But what he does have going for him is that the Cincinnati Bengals when they're favored against the NFC opponent at home, they're 27-9-1 all time. And Joe Burrow's 3-0 when he's a home favorite against NFC opponents. So that's going good for him. Unfortunately, going to be some bad weather in the area. I think Cincinnati is just on the outside of it, so it should be okay for this game, but just monitor that weather situation because that could play a factor.
Yeah, if it gets nasty, that's definitely going to affect whether or not you want to be throwing Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow out there. He just showed us last week he can throw the ball down the field. I don't want him doing that in wind and rain as well. Well, that's my stack. Accuse me of chasing points if you want to, but I liked what I saw from Burrow last week, and I love that price tag at 6,300. Steezy, who you got for us in week 6?
Man, it's crazy. You probably seen it in that show sheet right before the show, but I'm actually going with the quarterback wide receiver duo on the other side, Bengals and Seahawks matchup. And the biggest reason why is as long as it doesn't rain, I think that this is going to be a shootout. I mean, like we talked about, I know Rel talked about how Joe Burrow still isn't him, but this is the best version of him that we've seen all year long. And as the week progresses, he's only going to get healthier, at least in theory.
We hope.
And so now that him and Jamar Chase have kind of gotten back on the same page, T. Higgins should be available. I mean, he was close to playing last week. He did put in a limited participation in a practice last week. And so I'd be surprised if he doesn't play. But just given the amount of talent, firepower on both sides of the ball, guys are getting healthy, both teams. I just think this is going to be one of the more higher scoring games of the entire slate, Thursday through a Monday. And so because of that, I mean, as I always say, like if a game is going to put up, if there's going to be a lot of points on both sides, I mean, I'm going to want fantasy players on any of those teams. And so I really like Geno Smith and DK Metcalf this week.
Man, I'm liking that one. And I might even, with that Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow stack, sprinkle a little DK Metcalf on the other side of it. Just to get both sides of what should be a shootout. Terrell, are you feeling as optimistic about this game as it seems Steezy and I are? And do you like that Geno DK stack maybe a little better than the Burrow Chase one?
I lean to the Cincinnati side of things. Just that stat was just crazy to me. And, non-conference road games are a really tough spot in the NFL. And so I lean a little bit more into the Cincinnati Bengals side of the stack. But I think that this is a little bit more of a high-scoring game, weather permitting. Like if that weather continues to push towards Cleveland, towards Chicago, and Cincinnati kind of is like maybe a little damp conditions, but they're not getting the rain. The wind is going to be there, but it's not going to be as heavy as it is in Chicago. It's not going to be as heavy as it is in Cleveland this week. So I'm not expecting a windy game under or anything like that. So I think that both of you have really good potential, and it looks like we got a head-to-head matchup here.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out this weekend. Terrell, that was my stack. That was Steezy's stack. You got a stack for us this week? 2 players that you're digging, maybe 3?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get in the middle of y'all 2 beef that y'all got going on over there. So I'm gonna take my talents over to Jacksonville, and Gardner Minshew has a revenge game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are giving up the 6th most passing yards in the league right now. This offense moves different when Gardner Minshew. It's not predicated on just running the ball a million times. He has the ability, and it's a lot of tough throws that Gardner Minshew made in that game last week that I was looking and I was saying, man, I don't know if, I was on the Tennessee Titans last week. I was looking at some of the throws. I'm like, man, if Anthony Richardson was in the game, he was not making that throw. Or, hey, if Anthony Richardson in the game, they probably wasn't getting that throw on 3rd down, and they're getting off the field here. And he was able to extend drives. And now you get a soft Jacksonville Jaguars secondary where I think that this could be the Michael Pittman Jr. week that everybody, wants to go see and have him have a good week. So I think he's a very good option. Josh Downs has been a really, really frequent target over, not even just for Minshew, but for Richardson as well. So I like a stack of Minshew, Downs, and Pittman there, or I would just kind of pivot and just kind of give up one of those 2 and go for a Jonathan Taylor. I haven't really decided.
I like the double receiver stack against that Jacksonville secondary. You can really save on them as well. Though that being said, this is the time period where you're probably going to get the biggest discount on Jonathan Taylor as well. I can't imagine his price tag on DraftKings and FanDuel is going to be as low as it is right now if he has a good week. But I'm looking at your stack here. You got Gardner Minshew at 5,000, Michael Pittman, the most expensive at 6,300, and then Josh Downs all the way down at 4,100. You can load your roster up outside of that. And the way that those two players have been targeted, I'm pretty happy about it. I'll roll with that.
Yeah,
Man,
just
I
to
think
kind of
this is a
throw in my
high-scoring game too.
My bad, Rail. Just to kind of throw in my 2 cents, like you were saying, Josh Downs, I feel like in every game that he's had with Gardner Minshew under center, if I checked correctly, he's had 8 or more targets. And I know the sample size is small, but it's not like Gardner Minshew is going to be pushing the ball down the field. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that I disagree with what you said about Michael Pittman, but if I'm targeting a Colts receiver, if I had to pick one between the two, I'm looking at Josh Downs. I just think that not only is he the security blanket for Gardner Minshew, I just don't see Indianapolis pushing the ball down the field nearly as much. And Josh Downs, I mean, man, he's going to be a PPR machine.
PPR machine sitting right there. Now, Terrell, this is solely because Gardner Minshew's starting, right? If Anthony Richardson was in there, would you be attacking this the same way? Or do you think Minshew's an upgrade for these wide receivers?
I think Minshew's an upgrade. I think he is. I think that it's just the veteranship and it's the down the field ability and just the accuracy, like to put some, like he's very accurate at times and being able to put things in windows. And so if you take the raw talent that Minshew has, I think that and combined with the revenge angle of this week and the fact that this Jacksonville secondary, you don't have to put it into a small window because guess what? Everybody's open. Just like Jamar Chase said. I'm always open. These receivers are always open against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, I mean, I think Gardner Minshew has the talent that he's going to be able to get there. I probably would have played Richardson, and it probably would have been more of a popular play. I don't think anybody's playing Gardner Minshew this week, but I think a lot of people would have played Anthony Richardson in an opportunity like this. And so I like that Gardner Minshew's playing just because I get that contrarian vibe.
Well, I know the Fantasy Sports Logic Contrarian Optimizer is digging the Gardner Minshew Josh Downs stack this week. I saw it in there when I ran it a couple different ways. If you guys want to check that out to help you out with your Thursday night lineups or going into this weekend, scan the QR code on the screen and you can start your 7-day test drive for just $1. It's going to help you get that edge and find those stacks, matchups, and players that maybe other people aren't thinking about out there right now. Man, I'm feeling good about our stacks this week. I love the Cincinnati-Seattle game being attacked, and then Terrell, I was hoping that you were going to go the Gardner Minshew route because it sounded yesterday when we were talking ball that you were feeling good about him this week.
Mm-hmm. Gardner Minshew is going to win me $1 million this week, and then I'll never see any of you again.
Yeah, if I won $1 million.
Appreciate my last show here, Ed. It was best. I appreciate all the opportunities you gave me, and I see you on a beach in Cabo.
Until we follow your lineup and all three of us split the $1 million and nobody shows up. It's just producer Keith in here on Wednesday morning. We got some people in the chat here this morning. South saying hello, saying top of the morning, fellas. What's up, South? And we had a couple questions in here as well before we get into our game of Fantasy Feud. Priceless Pigeon, you are priceless, said, would you trade Tutu, Burks, and Everett for Josh Downs, Derek Carr, and Jonnu Smith? 20-man PPR league. Tutu is currently in the flex, others on the bench. Feels the need for a backup quarterback in this 20-man league. I imagine backup quarterbacks are a little bit harder to find with so many teams. Terrell, when you look at this trade, are you making this move or are you holding on to Tutu, Burks, and Everett?
Well, I mean, Tutu Atwell's stock just kind of went up with that Van Jefferson trade. And so I see why somebody made the offer. I don't know if you made the offer. It sounds like he made the offer. And so if you made the offer, you wouldn't be asking this question. So, I understand why he's trying to get down on the Tutu Atwell trade with Van Jefferson being shipped out into Atlanta. I think this is, I mean, if you need a backup quarterback, I think that this is a pretty all right trade because I don't think that you were probably doing too much with Everett. And you're getting Jonnu Smith back in replacement, who seems like he's the tight end one in Atlanta right now. So,
Shut up. We're not allowed to say that out loud. We just have to pretend like that's not happening for the
rest. It's like Bloody Mary where everybody's trying to act like it's not happening, and it's absolutely happening. Jonnu Smith is 100% the tight end one in Atlanta right now, so I like the trade. I think that you wouldn't be doing too bad, especially because Downs seems like he's getting a lot more work, so he can kind of supplement some of that Tutu Atwell loss.
I'm with you, Terrell. I think this is more than fair. And in a 20-man league, I understand the positional scarcity at quarterback. That means there's only 32 quarterbacks. Not everyone can even have a backup quarterback in this league. There's going to be a couple teams sitting there without them. And then you're not downgrading too much at the other positions. Steezy, you like this?
Oh, man, I love this. I mean, you guys were just talking about, the quarterbacks. I'd imagine he has a bye coming up, and he probably looked at his options on the waiver wire and said he doesn't have any. And so I think, by acquiring a Derek
Taylor
Carr
Heineke sitting there.
Right. And you're kind of like banking on Desmond Ridder being benched. But after his performance last week, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But Tutu, I think his value has gone down slightly. I mean, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua dominated, that target share. He did have a touchdown, but outside of that, not too much as far as, targets. Traylon Burks, is he even healthy? Last time I checked, he's still hurt. And so Gerald Everett, I mean, there's just not a lot of upside there. He's not even nearly as consistent as Jonnu Smith has been this season. I mean, if I checked correctly, it's in the last 4 games, Jonnu Smith has at least 8 targets. And so he's getting targeted heavily, and which is just wild. And so I think he wins pretty much every aspect of this deal, as far as upside, as far as floor, ceiling, all that. So, yes, I'm absolutely pulling the trigger right now if you can.
And what I would recommend is that if you are doing this for a bye week fill-in, and you say your bye week is this week and you're just trying to get Derek Carr out there this week, you can trade Derek Carr next week and get something back for him, because guess what? Somebody else needs a bye week fill-in too, because we just talked about it's a 20-man league and everybody doesn't have a backup. So if you do make this trade and you're just using Derek Carr as a bye week, say you have, I don't know, who's on a bye this week?
The Steelers and Packers, I believe.
Yeah, so say you have, like, you're rolling out a Jordan Love, where, I mean, I probably would want to roll out a Derek Carr, but say you have a good quarterback that's coming up on a bye in the next week or two, like, hey, you can, all right, bet, I got Derek Carr, I'll have him on my roster for the next week or two, and then boom, I can ship him out and I can get me, another player, and that will make this trade even more worth it, because now you're turning Derek Carr into a valuable trade asset that a lot of people are probably going to be looking for when bye weeks come around.
I love that, Terrell. A rental. Sometimes you need a rental in fantasy football in order to get that win. And it's that time of season. I wrote about it in this week's waiver wire article. If you're 0-5, 1-4, you got to start looking at this season in 1-week windows. You're no longer playing for the playoffs. You're playing for week 6 right now, because you need that win. And if you got to buy a win, if you got to pay for a player who's only relevant for 1 week, if you got to spend too much fab to get that wide receiver that's going to help push you over the top, right now, week 6 is the time where you start just paying for your wins if you can do it. And that doesn't mean bribing your commissioner with like Amazon gift cards, but blowing all your fab if you got to do it, making some trades that maybe aren't optimal, but optimal for week 6. All right. Well, guys, we got a game prepared today. Some fantasy feud. I believe Terrell pulled out the W over Steezy last time you two guys played, but Steezy got the W over producer Keith last week in this game. We got 4 prompts for you. For everybody watching that has not played along with us before, how this game works is I'm going to present a prompt, something like name the top 7 PPR running backs from week 5, or name the 6 teams that have scored the most points through 5 weeks. If you think you can name all of them, you buzz in by saying your name. You're now going to have 3 strikes to name everything on the list. 1 point for each one you get right. But if you get 3 strikes before the list is complete, your opponent is going to have the opportunity to steal all of your points. All they'll need to do that is to name one of the remaining things on the list that you were unable to name. We'll go like this through 4 rounds, and whoever's got the most point at the end is our champion. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Oh. Hey, if you ready, you ain't got to get ready. Come on. Or if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. That's what I meant to say.
He's like, I wake up ready, baby. I've been up for 30 minutes, but I woke up.
He wasn't even ready to say the quote.
You're not wrong.
All right. Well, buzz in with your name if you want to play this one. What I want to know is name the 5 most expensive players in tonight's Thursday night slate on DraftKings.
Bro.
Okay, Terrell, let's hear it.
Oh, our Lord and Savior, the GOAT, greatest quarterback of all time, Patrick Mahomes.
He is number 1 on the list at 19,200 in tonight's Thursday night slate.
All right, we're going to do it for the Swifties as well. Travis Kelce.
Shout out Swifties, the highest selling jersey in the NFL by a significant margin right now. Travis Kelce at 16,500.
I just can't imagine. I can't imagine somebody that is a Taylor Swift fan that doesn't watch football at all saying, man, I got to go buy this Travis Kelce guy's jersey because like it. I just don't.
If sales went up 400%,
like, what are you
after she
doing with
showed
the
up at that
jersey?
game.
Are you
This
just
is
gonna
when they
wear
do
the
a
jersey
cute-ass
if she's
dress.
at the game? So she wasn't at the Minnesota game. So did you not put the jersey on and you just put the jersey back in the closet and say, "Oh, I'll bring it back out when she's at the game"? Like, how do you? I don't know, man. I don't know. All right,
Supporting their girl, man.
I just, I don't get the Swifties. I don't get it. I didn't even know Swifties was a thing until my.
You know what we need to do? NFL fans need to all go out and buy Taylor Swift t-shirts. Is what we got to do now, and everyone just start.
And then we
we
start going to Taylor Swift concerts, so just to get a glimpse of Travis Kelce. Like, oh, look, it's Travis Kelce over there at the concert.
Look at Travis Kelce in the upper deck because
gosh.
because tickets here are super expensive.
I just don't get it. Like, you don't like football, you don't care about football. You sat through a whole football game just to maybe get a look at Taylor Swift. I don't get it. Back to the game because I cheated, but Russell Wilson is probably up there. He shouldn't be, but he's probably up there somewhere. He's a quarterback.
He is number 3 on the list. You've gone 1, 2, 3 so far. 14,400 for Russell Wilson.
Jerry
so no
Jeudy
strikes. You got 3 right.
Jerry Jeudy, number 1 receiver.
5 on the list. 13,500. So the only one you're missing is number 4. 0 strikes.
So I am torn between 2 players, but I got 0 strikes. So Isaiah Pacheco.
Number 4, clean sweep, no strikes. That is 5 points for Terrell. $14,100 sitting there at the top of the list. I thought this was going to be
Fantasy
trickier.
Sports Optimizer. I appreciate the Fantasy Sports Optimizer for getting me ready for Thursday Night Football.
You knew all those prices sitting up there at the top. Terrell, you got this one all right. You swept all of them. You're clearly prepared for tonight's Thursday night DFS slate. Are any of these expensive options jumping out to you as like must-play players that you're going to be behind the rest of the competition if you don't put them in your lineup?
Yeah, I gotta play Patrick Mahomes. Like, there's no lineup. There's no lineup that I think there's even possible that Patrick Mahomes is not in the lineup and helps you get to a win. So, is he going to be in my captain slot? No, because that's not how you win $1 million. But I definitely have to have him in that lineup somewhere.
Easy. It seems like Isaiah Pacheco has been coming on over the past couple of weeks, getting more and more of that work. Are you buying into him as a reliable weekly running back option? And do you like him in this like Denver Broncos game tonight against this Broncos defense?
Oh, I absolutely love him. I just think that game flow is going to benefit him. And like we talked about at the top of the show, if this ends up being a blowout, Kansas City's only going to run the ball, 25, 30 plus times. And so I think with what he's been doing, he's getting hot. Offensive line is obviously still stellar. And yeah, I mean, I think everything favors him. The talent's there. I think he's in line for a huge game. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to have the best game of the season to date.
Man, and I keep wanting today to be Thursday so bad that
I wanted to be Thursday too.
God, this is the second time this show that I've said it's Thursday. We got football tonight.
I mean, it says it even on the bottom of the screen. Like, everybody, I thought it was Thursday. I had to go back and look at my phone. Like, hey, is today Thursday? Do I need to be getting this lineup in? I thought I had one more day to do this.
Yeah, time is fake. Today might be Thursday. We don't even know.
It's Thursday somewhere.
Right across that international date line. I'm not sure how time zones work. If I think about it too much, I start getting confused. But what I'm not confused about is Terrell sweeping that category and getting that 5-0 lead to start the game. But we got 3 more prompts in here, and I don't think they'll be quite as easy. You ready for number 2?
Let's do it.
I got named the 5 players most favored to lead the league in regular season receiving yards, according to the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Regular season
receiving
yards.
Okay, Steezy's jumping into play this. What you got?
All right, so I'm going to start with Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill is number 1 on the list by far at minus 125 to lead the league in receiving yards after 5 weeks.
Okay, he's been getting hot, so I'm hoping the sportsbooks have kind of picked up on this, but we've been talking about a lot on this show already, Mr. Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase is unfortunately not in the top 5, Steezy. That is going to be 1 strike for you. Let me see where Jamar Chase is. Jamar Chase is A little bit further down there. Let's see. Oh, I completely lied to you. He is number 2 on this list at plus 700. I looked at the wrong page right there. Nice job.
Wow. Wait. Okay.
So you got
Moore?
2.
You got 2. So you got 1 and 2 on that list. Jamar Chase is number 2 at plus 700.
Oh, okay. Gosh, sorry. My headphones cut off, so I couldn't even hear you. So he's at number 2.
Yeah, I accidentally typed a different player's name, and then I just double checked on the FanDuel Sportsbook because it sounded wrong that Jamar Chase wasn't up there. And in fact, he's sitting at number 2 at plus 700. Nice job, Steezy.
Okay, perfect. I was gonna say, because I mean, with Justin Jefferson being hurt, like he should, you know what I'm saying? But all right, good. DJ Moore.
DJ Moore is not in the top 5, but boy, is he close. Tied for number 6 with a couple other players sitting just outside that range, but nice guess.
Okay.
It's one strike.
Thank you. Let's go with AJ Brown.
AJ Brown, number 4 on this list at plus 1,000. Nice job.
Okay, and then
I guess tied for 3 on this list.
Okay. This next one, I'm gonna go with Stephon Diggs.
Number 3 on this list, tied with AJ Brown at plus 1,000 odds to lead the league in regular season receiving yards. You got 4 out of 5, Steezy. There is 1 left here. You got 2 strikes to get it. Otherwise, Terrell's going to have the opportunity to steal.
Okay, I'm going to go. Man, he's been on a heater. I know his team was just on bye, but Keenan Allen?
Keenan Allen, unfortunately, is incorrect. One of the ones tied with DJ Moore there at 6th at plus 2,500 odds.
Okay.
That is 2 strikes.
Man, I got one more player.
What you thinking, Steezy? Terrell's calling for the steal down there right now. Thinks he's going to get a chance.
Okay, this is going to be a dart. Or maybe not. Maybe that's disrespectful. Let's go with Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is your 3rd strike, Steezy. Unfortunately, you got 4 of these. If Terrell's able to say the last one, he's going to steal 5 points. Otherwise, you're going to get 4 points and make this a close game. What you got, Terrell? You think you can name the last player on this list? You get 1 shot.
Yikes. Oh, man. I feel like I'm super close. It's a name that I feel like could be up there. We just talked about him having a 4-reception day on Monday Night Football. He's one of the best receivers in the league, Davante Adams.
Davante Adams, tied with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and CeeDee Lamb for 6th on this list at plus 2,500.
Hey, who are we missing?
Easy. You're going to get 4 points here for this, and you are missing the waiver wire phenom of the season so far, Puka Nacua.
I thought Puka Nacua in my head. I didn't think that he would still be on the list with Cooper Kupp coming back, and so I went.
Hey, that was my line of thinking.
Dang.
Sitting at plus 1,400. Are there any names on this list besides Tyreek Hill that interest you? Because the way this Miami offense is playing, I'm having trouble picturing anybody catching Tyreek Hill barring an injury.
So I think the big thing with bets like these is you need to kind of be willing to sprinkle on somebody that may not win the award. Like you have to kind of take chances here. And Tyreek Hill is the favorite. Clearly he's the favorite. He gets like 100 plus every single game. But what if, just look out. Justin Jefferson was probably one of the favorites before last week. And then he gets a hamstring injury and now he's off the list. So you got to kind of take chances and see what kind of pops up for you, because if something does happen to Tyreek Hill, then that opens the door for everybody else. That opens the door for Davante Adams to get back going again. It opens the door for Stephon Diggs. It opens the door for a lot of other people. So I would definitely, break a unit up and take some flyers on some other guys that, if injury did happen to either somebody else in the league or somebody in their own, wide receiver room, then that would boost their production up tremendously.
I was shocked a little bit to see Puka Nacua still that high on this list, Steezy. But last week we saw Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua both be fantasy relevant. Neither one of them necessarily was a bench because Cooper Kupp was back. Do you think that's sustainable throughout the rest of the year? Do you think Puka Nacua is going to continue seeing that high target volume, or was this a week 1 Cooper Kupp is back? Let's still target some Puka Nacua in there as well.
Bro, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm gonna need a second to reconnect my headphones. Yo, I just didn't even hear a single word. I'm so sorry.
No worries. I'll throw that to you, Rel. Do you think Puka
Yeah.
Nacua can keep this up, or was this just Cooper Kupp week 1 back and they're still having Puka involved?
No, I think he can keep it up. I will go ahead and say that, going into preseason, I thought Puka Nacua was just one of those other guys that, those people that are deep down in the weeds of the fantasy nerds were trying to talk themselves into this guy being this crazy new option. And he actually was. Puka Nacua is really, really good. He's adjusted really well, and they scheme him the ball. Like, it was very early that people thought in that game that Puka Nacua wasn't going to do anything. All the targets were going to Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp had like 6 catches. The Puka Nacua was 1 at that point. Then they start getting him going. They get him in the end zone. This is not just him getting the Cooper Kupp targets. He's getting the Puka Nacua targets. They are making targets specifically for him. And so I think he's definitely a fantasy option going forward. And you should 100% be starting him.
Yep. I was nervous about Puka Nacua with Cooper Kupp coming back, but after watching last week's game, I'm not as nervous. I'll take the L on that one. I do think both of those guys are going to be involved pretty heavily going forward. Steezy, you closed the gap quite a bit with that round. The score is 5-4 after that one. But we got 2 more prompts left to determine today's winner. You guys ready for number 3?
Yeah, let's do it.
What I need to know is name the 6 teams that are a touchdown or more underdog in week 6, according to the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Rel, this is my category.
Yeah, I know you're jumping in on this.
Oh, yeah. All right. Touchdown or more underdog. So we're going touchdown by 6 points, not 7, right? Touchdown is 6 points.
I did 7. So let's do 7.
Okay.
We'll call it
all
7 here.
All right. 7 points. So 7 points. The Browns are not 7 points. They're at 6.5. Last I checked. I've been watching that line all week. Take the Browns plus 6.5. So we're going. The Rams are playing the Cardinals. So they are 7.
Yep, that is absolutely correct. Number 3 on the list. Well, I guess there's not really an order.
You have the Carolina Panthers that are probably going to get destroyed by the Miami Dolphins.
13.5-point dogs against the Dolphins.
You have the Kansas City Chiefs and Denver Broncos tomorrow night.
10.5 for the Chiefs in that one. We got some big gaps this week.
You have my lowly New York Giants in the revenge game for Brian Dable against the Buffalo Bills, unfortunately.
14-point favorites are the Bills in that one. That is 4 for 4. You got 1 left.
Is it 1 or 2?
There's 1. Oh, it is. It's supposed to be 5. I just messed everything up. It's Thursday. I said 5 instead of 6. I said 6 instead of 7. There's 1 more left.
All right, 1 more left. Let me think about where I am. It's not the Niners. They're 6. I'm pretty confident that's still. It opened up at 5. It's at 6.5 now, so it hasn't gotten to 7. Oh, the Eagles versus the Jets. That should be at 7.5 now.
The Jets are 7-point dogs in this one, according to the FanDuel Sportsbook. Steezy looks like he was sitting on that one up there, ready to steal if he couldn't find it. But you're going to sweep it again with no strikes, Terrell. That's going to have 5 more points to your score, bringing it up to 10-4 as we head into our
flu game, Rel. Flu game, Rel. Yeah, flu game.
I see all these double-digit lines this week. We got some real expected blowouts, and they scare me away from wanting to touch those games. I'm always a little bit nervous betting on either side of those. It seems difficult to imagine the Giants losing by less than 14. Sorry, Terrell. But I also don't have confidence. This Bills team has just not shown up a couple times this season. And they can let their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden they win by 11 instead of by 20. Do you guys have any rules of thumb when it comes to these double-digit dog games? Do you stay away from them, or is it on a case-by-case basis?
So for me, it's a lot more of case-by-case basis and just looking at, the personnel. And unfortunately for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they don't take these games serious where they're double-digit favorites. I mean, look at what happened with the New York Jets and only winning that game by 3. And he had the opportunity to cover the line, and guess what? Kneel down in the goal line. So they don't care about covering the spread. Unfortunately for the Denver Broncos, there's not a situation at all where you should feel confident in betting Russell Wilson. And so, I mean, I'm still going to back the Chiefs in that game no matter what. But for the most part, I do typically stay away from the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid when they get a double-digit number because they typically do not care about covering those lines. For the most part, a lot of those games typically tend to go under as well. Like, one side just typically dominates scoring, or even if it's a close game, it's normally a lower scoring close game rather than a team being able to keep up in a shootout. Like, you can't imagine a Carolina Panthers team keeping up in a shootout against the Miami Dolphins. But if you sit here and you say any way for the Panthers to somehow, some way be able to win this game, then it's got to be through the defensive end. So a lot of these games typically go towards the under. I think that you take it a case by case basis and saying, are you able to back this team laying this amount of points? Some teams you just can't back them laying points.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And it's hard to imagine this, the line you said in there, this Panthers team against this Dolphins team. That's the one I feel most confident in, where the Dolphins will cover compared to any of these other games. Even Eagles +7 against the Jets, I'm feeling a lot more confident that the Dolphins win by 14 points. Against this Panthers team. How's Bryce Young going to be able to do anything whenever they're down by 30 already in the second quarter? That may
you gotta look at the line and just like, even I know that's not right at 7, but 6.5 is still a touchdown. And the game for the San Francisco 49ers and the Cleveland Browns, I'm on the Browns +6.5, and even with potential of potential of Deshaun Watson not playing in this game. And it's just because, one, Kyle Shanahan as a head coach, he's not good when he's laying over a touchdown. He has a very poor ATS record when he's laying over a touchdown, especially on the road. And you have a monsoon that's supposed to be happening in Cleveland. So if anybody remembers when they were laying 6 last year against the Chicago Bears first week of the season, everybody thought the 49ers were just going to roll over them because they had the great defense. The Bears were projected to be one of the worst teams in the league, and they were, but they got the win outright because weather was on their side. They were able to have a game plan that coincided with the weather, and they were able to take and keep that game close. It wasn't a high scoring game at all. So you just got to pick your spot and know these coaches. Some coaches care about covering the spread. Other coaches don't.
I think the fall and winter home advantage for the Cleveland Browns is one of the most slept on home field advantages in the NFL because that is one of the windiest stadiums in the league, and the Browns are used to playing there. And you watch other teams truly get flustered by the weather and the wind in Cleveland whenever they come into that stadium. So I'm with you, Terrell. I like that. The other thing I like from that game, I know it's a little bit off topic here, is I love Christian McCaffrey to eat, man. Like, just absolutely slam dunk, putting them in all of my DFS lineups this week. I don't care what it costs, because if it's going to be a monsoon in that game and the Cleveland secondary is as good as we think it is, this is going to have to go through Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey all day. Sounds like maybe you're as excited or bullish on CMC as I am this week.
I think if there's a bust week for CMC, it is this week, and it's just because look at Jim Schwartz and what he's talked about that defense. Like, yes, he's like been so up in arms about the secondary. He said his secondary can go up against any wide receiver core in the league. He can match them up man to man, and he thinks every single person can guard everyone. But that opens so many things up for you to stack the box, for you to put 8 people in the box, because you know that your DBs can cover those receivers. And so that's not going to leave many open lanes for Christian McCaffrey. This Browns defense has been really good to the run. Look at what they did to Derrick Henry. And so I think that, Christian McCaffrey, I think he has more of an opportunity because they'll probably throw him a bunch of screen work, and I probably will take it over in his receiving yards than I do rushing yards. But I think that it's going to be really, really tough around the line of scrimmage this week for both sides.
Steezy, we got you back.
Forgot to unmute myself. Yeah, man, I apologize. I feel like for like 20 to 25 minutes of the show, I just could not hear properly. But
you were doing a great job for not being able to hear us.
Yeah,
I was trying to
lips.
Play it cool. I was trying to read lips and just like pick up whatever I could. And so now everything's all clear. I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents real quick. I don't know if I'm wrong, but I saw Christian McCaffrey's salary, and I think this was via FanDuel, but it was $10,300, and I think that's the highest I've seen it all year long. And so I think Simon, Vegas might be agreeing with you.
They're sitting there, they're feeling all right, but maybe I'm a sucker for falling for it. And Terrell's on the smart side of that money. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out this weekend. Terrell's got a lead here, but the way this is shaped up is beautiful because the last one has 7 options available. Steezy, that means if you buzz in and get all 7, you are going to win this game. Otherwise, this is Terrell's game to win, but it's all coming down to this final round. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Now I'm ready.
This one's a little different than some of the other ones we've done. We'll see how much you've been paying attention to this specific statistic. They reference it on the broadcast all the time. What I want to know is name the 7 QBs currently leading the NFL in QBR after 5 weeks in quarterback rating.
Steezy.
Okay, Steezy's going to give it a shot. Steezy, let's hear those 7 quarterbacks leading the league in QBR.
QBR. Okay, this is interesting. I'm going to start with Patrick Mahomes.
Number 4 on the list at 73.3. Nice job. You got 1.
Okay, and then let's go with Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is on this list at number 2, 78.3 QBR.
Okay, and let's go with Brock Purdy.
Number 1 on the list, 83.6 QBR through the first 5 weeks.
Okay, and then let's go with Tua.
Number 3 on the list, you got numbers 1 through 4 now at 75.6 QBR.
75.6. Okay, let's go with Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts, unfortunately, is outside of the top 7. He's sitting down at number 11 with a 60.8 QBR. That's 1 strike, Steezy.
Okay, that's fair. Let's go with Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert, number 7 on the list at 69.5. We got 1 strike and 2 remaining here.
Okay, let's go with Jared Goff.
Number 5 on the list at 71.2. There is only 1 left at number 6. You got 1 strike, 2 shots to get it. So sitting between Jared Goff and Justin Herbert is one last name that you need to identify.
I know who it is.
And I think he goes by the name of Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins is incorrect, unfortunately. Kirk Cousins is sitting down at, where is Kirky boy on this list? Number 12, right behind Jalen Hurts at 60.0. So that is 2 strikes. 1 more strike, 1 player left. Set up for a tie right now. Terrell can't steal it, but we'll see if you can set it up for the W right here.
He's not going to get it.
Okay, real quick, can you just give me a rundown of every quarterback
in the NFL?
No.
That you listen. Yeah, let me name all of them. You've got Brock Purdy at 1, Josh Allen at 2, Tua Tagovailoa at 3, Patrick Mahomes at 4, Jared Goff at 5. I almost accidentally read number 6.
I knew you. I was sitting here. I was like, is he gonna say it? Like, is he gonna keep going and say it? He's gonna ruin it.
Justin Herbert at 7. Ooh, that was close.
I know who it. I feel like I know who it is.
Ooh, oh man, this is tough. Okay, so he's at 6. I'm gonna have to go with. I'm stuck on 2 guys. I'm gonna choose the less heralded guy. Let's go with Baker Mayfield.
Coming in at number 6 is Baker freaking Mayfield. Steezy pulled victory out by sweeping this set. I'm shocked that you pulled Baker out right there.
What? Where did you get Baker from?
Bro, no, I was about to say Trevor Lawrence, but then I was just hold on.
That's not what I was going to say at all. I was going to say CJ Stroud, who hasn't thrown an interception yet. I thought that was a sneaky guess right there. Oh, no, man, actually, where is CJ Stroud on the list?
CJ Stroud is number 14 on the list at 56.2 QBR.
Man. Good call with
Baker Mayfield.
I would have gotten that. I would not have gotten that.
With a final score of 11-10 with that last second Baker Mayfield.
That's a shot at the buzzer. That's clutch. Wow. Hey, that's clutch De'Aaron Fox right there. Clutch player of the year.
It's Dame time, baby. Come on.
Dame time, yeah. That's clutch player of the year award for real.
He tried to warn us he was ready. He tried to tell us.
Yeah, he did. I was not.
Man. Come on.
I was not thinking Baker at all.
Now, I was shocked Baker was on there, but he's looked all right so far through the first 5 weeks. Not just all right, he's looked above average, which is what I've always called Baker Mayfield, is an above average NFL quarterback. He's not the world beater, but you give him a couple receivers and an O-line that can do something for him, and he's above average. Do you guys think this is a long-term solution here for the Buccaneers? Because it doesn't look like they're in the Caleb Williams lottery this year unless they trade for that pick.
Man, that's such a tough question, bro. Because it's like I don't want to discredit what he has been doing to this point, but if the goal is to win a Super Bowl, then the answer is clear: no. He's just a stopgap at best. I mean, if they're okay with just being relevant and potentially winning divisions, but first round exits, then so be it. But I'm assuming that their goal is to win a Super Bowl at some point, and so no matter how good he's looked, I mean, I think at this point, given his age, he's nothing more than just a stopgap.
Yeah, I have a proposition for Baker Mayfield and Gardner Minshew. We see the value of a really good backup. I think come playoff time, that Baker Mayfield should just be the all-time AFC backup quarterback. If any AFC team loses their quarterback, Baker Mayfield goes in, and Gardner Minshew can be the all-time NFC backup quarterback. If any team in the playoff loses their quarterback on the NFC, in comes Gardner Minshew. Then we don't have to worry about any of this
49ers would have loved
nonsense.
this last year.
Right? This is my rule proposal for 2024.
Hey, I
It's
like
gonna
it
go
better
through.
than the emergency quarterback rule. I'm not gonna lie to you, Simon. I do.
Just have somebody ready out there. I know this is off topic. Did you guys see the I think it was Kurt Warner who came out and said that it should be a penalty on the quarterback for leading their wide receiver into a dangerous hit? Like if the quarterback throws a ball that then leads to a defenseless receiver, that it shouldn't be on the defensive player, it should be on the quarterback. And for 1 second, I agreed with them. And then I thought about it for 5 seconds and I was like, yo, that would be the most dangerous league in the world. If defensive players got rewarded for hitting defenseless receivers, like I feel like he didn't think about that for even 2 seconds.
Served them up to me on a silver platter. I mean, what was I supposed to do? I was already leading. No, man, it's terrible. This is a contact sport, guys. Let's remember, like, it's a contact sport. You knew what you were signed up for when you decided you wanted to play.
We got a question in here from George now that we wrapped up our game. Congrats, Steezy, on that one. George wants to know, I want to add Jameson Williams. Who should I drop? Warren, Dell, Hunt, Algier, Deontay, or Joshua Palmer? So, Steezy, when you look at this list, which one of these players would you be dropping to add Jameson Williams, if any?
So I'm going to assume they don't have an injured reserve spot because that's what Deontay Johnson should be. But reports came out yesterday, I believe, that he should be coming back in week 7. So not this week, but next week. And so obviously it's too late to kind of just drop him now. But just in case, that IR spot is still open and he just wasn't aware, he or she wasn't aware, then slot him in there. And then you could add Jameson Williams without having to drop anybody. But let's just assume that they don't. Then I think here I'll drop Kareem Hunt. I just think that with the Cleveland Browns, he's just the offensive line isn't nearly as elite as it has been in years past. It's not to say that it's not any good, but if the offensive line was what it was from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, then I could see the Cleveland Browns supporting two running backs in fantasy. But given what we've seen so far, the offense just is it's average. I wouldn't want 2 Cleveland Browns running backs, and I think the one to own is Jerome Ford. So all that being said, I would drop Kareem Hunt to pick up a Jameson Williams.
I'm with you. Kareem Hunt was the name that jumped out at me on this list. Terrell, is there a different name you'd be looking to drop, or are you feeling the same way here?
No, I think I kind of want to drop Tyler Algier. It just doesn't seem like, it seems like, yeah, every now and then he gets the touches, but is he really doing anything with the touches? He's got 190. No, he's got 62 carries for 191. That's 3.1 per carry. The 2 touchdowns that he did have were week 1 of the season. It seems like it's been the Bijan Robinson show for the most part, even though they are using Tyler Algier as an additional back. He's just kind of more of a change of pace, kind of short yardage back, but they're really giving all the main good fantasy touches to Bijan Robinson. So yeah, I would 100%. I probably drop Tyler Algier here because I just think that he's just kind of sitting there.
Yeah, I don't mind that one either. Week 1 maybe gave us a little bit of optimism for Algier and pessimism for Bijan that Algier would have a bigger role this season, but got Bijan Robinson.
He hasn't been as good since, at all.
And Bijan's as good as advertised, man. Whenever I watch him out there, it just looks silly, the cuts he's making. I don't understand how he changes direction without losing speed like that. He just makes defenders look like fools on the field. We got one more question in here about Mark Andrews. Our friend Chaka wanted to know, what's a fair value for Mark Andrews in your opinion? And would you feel comfortable trading him if you had Komet? So Komet's had a couple big games, PPR league.
It depends on what the rest of my team looks like. And, if I feel like I got a very, very strong team where Mark Andrews just kind of puts me over the top, but I'm still getting pretty serviceable with Komet, and I can move Andrews for a hole that I need. Like maybe I have one good wide receiver. I want another good wide receiver, or maybe I need a running back. It depends on if I have a hole that I need filled. If I have a hole that I need filled, then I feel confident with moving Andrews because you're definitely going to get more for Andrews than Komet, and Komet's still been a pretty decent option, at least on recent weeks.
Yeah, whenever I look at what you could get in return, Would you guys trade Mark Andrews for David Montgomery straight up right now? Is that not enough?
Nah, because I feel like Gibbs is going to be incorporated more into the game plan as the season progresses. And for me, I feel like we've yet to see the best version of Mark Andrews. I know he did have a 2-touchdown, 80-yard game just a couple of weeks ago against the Browns, but this passing offense has yet to really find their groove. But imagine once they do, he's the bona fide number one. Him or Zay Flowers, however you guys want to look at it. And so because I feel like we've yet to see the best of him, I'd hate to just let him go now when I feel like I get the best version of him later. And I think with a Cole Kmet, if he continues to keep up at this pace, I think he's more of the sell high type of guy. So I think I would keep Mark Andrews just because right now I don't think you could get equal value.
I hear you. Instead of selling low on Mark Andrews, maybe see if you get another good week out of Cole Kmet and try to move him. See if you can get a little bit of value there. I don't mind that at all. And I tend to find myself holding on to my elite tight ends when I have one, just because the like PTSD I have from having to stream tight ends for so many years prevents me from like trading away at Travis Kelce. Like I don't want to be like picking between CJ Uzama and like Austin Seferian Jenkins on the waiver wire again. Those were some rough fantasy days out there.
Bro, I could relate because I've had days like that in the past. I used to just skip out on tight end like altogether. And I've had so many games and where I've had just a donut at the tight end, position. And I've literally lost by a couple points because of that. And so I'm with you, Simon. I'm scarred.
I hold on to those top tier guys. Well, guys, before we go here, we got a couple minutes left. We wanted to hit you with some of our favorite player props going into week 6. Me, Terrell, and Stu gave you a couple yesterday. Me, Terrell, and Steezy are going to give you a couple today. And I'm going to jump in with mine first today, if you guys do not mind. I'm feeling impatient about this one. I got Dallas Goedert as an anytime touchdown scorer this weekend against the New York Jets, who have been absolutely abysmal against opposing tight ends through 5 weeks. And there's not many spots that this Jets defense is weak. If Jalen Hurts wants to get it done through the air, he's going to go to his favorite end zone target in Dallas Goedert, sitting at plus 175 on multiple books. I feel I'm not often on these anytime touchdown scorer bets, but I feel good about Dallas Goedert this week against a Jets defense that has shown they're weak against the tight end position.
Yeah, I like that play there. And the Nick Sirianni has said that they need to get Dallas Goedert going in the game more. They have to really make sure that they lock in on getting him some touches. And that New York Jets position, they have been giving up a lot. You look at what they're doing. They are, 6th in opponent's yards to tight ends. And so I think that they can definitely give up some good yardage, and you can find a nice way. I like his yardage prop, and I like his touchdown prop. So good call.
I'm digging that one. Terrell, Steezy, who wants to jump in next with their player prop?
Man, I'll go next.
I can do next.
Fight. I'm just kidding.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I got one for Thursday Night Football. Give me George Karlaftis, defensive player prop this time. George Karlaftis over 0.75, so he just has to get 1 sack in the game. That is at even money right now. He has 2 sacks and 1 sack in both of his career games against the Denver Broncos. I think that there will be a little bit more of an emphasis on that line, on the blocking scheme, to try to make sure that Chris Jones is not the one beating them. And Karlaftis getting a one-on-one matchup on the outside against this offensive line, I think he has a really, really good opportunity. So I think this could be a really good game for Karlaftis, who has a sack in every game he's played against the Broncos in his short career. So I like Karlaftis here, getting him at plus money to get a sack.
Man, I love that one. I love the defensive prop getting thrown in. And the call out to the attention that's going to be thrown over Chris Jones' way. Open things up for George a little bit in this game. I like the confidence to throw some money down on those defensive props usually. Those IDP guys get in my head, man. They're serious out there on the Twitter streets.
Yeah,
man. I feel like I don't know nothing. Steezy, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I was going to say, Ray, I'm glad you went because, you spicing things up a little bit. For me, it's a little more bland, but I'm going to have to go with Alvin Kamara. His rushing yard over under total is 68.5, and they're going up against the Houston Texans. And while their secondary is somewhat stingy when healthy, their run defense, not nearly as much. They've definitely improved, but I just think that with the New Orleans Saints, we don't know if Derek Carr is still 100%. And I know Alvin Kamara's only been active for 2 games, but in those 2 games, he's been getting fed. Like, my gosh. And so I think with that Saints defense as well, they're probably going to shut CJ Stroud down. I know he's been absolutely phenomenal, this year, but this is the best defense that he's going to play. And so I don't know if their offense is going to be able to muster up a lot of points. I think game flow is going to be in his favor. I think the quarterback situation, he's not 100%, and so he's going to get a majority of the touches. He isn't really even splitting with anybody there. KJ only had a couple, and so 68.5, I can see Alvin Kamara rushing for 100. Give me the over.
Yeah, the way we saw the Houston Texans run defense last year, he could hit 200.
Right, exactly.
I guess his name's not Derrick Henry, but you're right. You're right. I like that one. So we got Alvin Kamara over 68.5 rushing yards. We got George Karlaftis over 0.75 sacks, getting that whole sack in this game. And then we got Dallas Goedert, anytime touchdown scorer, as your Wednesday favorite props. And Terrell, I love that you not only hit Thursday night, but you hit a defensive one in there as well. Spicy
yeah.
up for
Take care of everybody.
Yeah, you're making
Get you some money going into the weekend.
To then put on the Dallas Goedert and Alvin Kamara one. That's where
There
that
you
money's coming from. Well, guys, if you're not already following Sportstopia across all of their socials, you're going to want to do that right now. Make sure you're not missing out on any of our shows or the other awesome analysts across multiple sports. We got helping you out, win your leagues here. That's at Sportstopia HQ on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you like the lineups we were coming up with earlier in the show, enjoyed our stacks, or want to find some of your own, scan that QR code on the screen. I'm going to remind you one more time because it's only $1 for a 7-day test drive of this unbelievably powerful tool that you can use, the Contrarian Edge Optimizer, brought to you by Fantasy Sports Logic. All right, well, it is not Thursday. We got one more sleep until football, as much as I want it to be Thursday. But guys, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. We will be back next week with some more Fantasy Fire and Ice NFL edition. Until then, though, enjoy the rest of your week. Get ready for football tomorrow. And remember what day it is. Adios, everyone.